Welcome to the Meltzone Podcast. This is episode 58. I'm Tom.
And I'm Stefan. And on today's episode, we again talk about, of course, Tom's new studio. I might be getting a new studio very soon. But other than that, a quick word on a, quite recent drama about the 3D printing website All3DP, who has been stealing creator content and using images and things like that out of context on their website, and how they are or want to change their policy there, and maybe in the future even like properly license content from content creators if they're using that on their website. Then on other news, BCN 3D, the maker of the, Tom help me out, the Sigma 3D printers, the IDEX, no, it's not, it's IDEX, 3D printers, they are getting into the resin 3D printing market, but not with the typical resin 3D printing, where you have a resin vat, and you expose the resin with a laser or an LCD screen, but a very novel approach, where they can use very special resins for higher strength materials and maybe even do multi-material resin printing. Really interesting. The technology is called VLM. So more on that in a bit. Then we talk a bit about Prusa's recycled PETG filament, how they analyzed the life cycle of the material and the CO2 footprint, and how much CO2 they're actually saving if you are buying recycled materials, and also real post-consumer recycled PLA, because Prusa is only using like the waste from their filament production and not really failed 3D prints. There is a German company called the RecyclingFabrik, where you can send in your failed 3D prints and they will give you a store credit and will recycle your material into new filament that you can then buy in the end, which is really nice, challenging, and I highly appreciate that they are working on that topic.
And then one more topic about Prusa. There is some more news that were shared about the Prusa XL and about their hot end design, kind of poking fun at the Revo that E3D have recently released, because they are sharing some design cues there. We comment on the now released and now completely funded, overfunded Anker 3D printer that is on Kickstarter, and what that seems to be offering and where it fits into the grand scheme of 3D printers that are available. And lastly, one question from you guys. What if Stefan's volcano adapters were made out of copper? Would that be a benefit or a downside? Great. Stefan. Why do you look different? What's your hair, your glasses? You like a new person.
Yeah, I look like a new person. Well, the hair is constantly growing. It just got to the point where I either need to do it the way you did it last time, or I need to go to the hairdressers next week. Probably do the latter thing.
Yeah, we have the one strand running down to your nose.
Yeah. It's getting annoying. It's getting really annoying, and especially when the spring and summer is coming, I can't really deal with all of the hair on my head. It's just getting me too warm. But yeah, new glasses. These are my second pair of glasses I ever had after like 6 years having my first pair. I thought, it's finally the time to invest in a second one.
Yeah, works out. I mean, I've been wearing glasses since I was like 7 or 8, so I've gone through plenty of pairs. But yeah,
it's nice to have a new set of glasses, even though my vision didn't really get that much worse, but the glasses were scratched and old and just not working that perfectly anymore.
You don't notice it when they're slowly degrading, and they just you look into a light, like I've got my studio lights around here, and it's just like, there's like a little bit of haze around them. I wonder where that's from. And then you get new glasses and it's like, I didn't know stuff could look this good.
I was really upset because when I got my new glasses, like for the first day, I was feeling really dizzy and I was even my stomach wasn't feeling that good. And I thought, okay, you paid so much for these glasses, they better gonna work. And then this is happening, but it got way better now, and I can even sit in front of my my displays again with my glasses, which I usually don't do, and I only do for the looks here. This podcast. No, just kidding.
Yeah, but they look great on you. So audio listeners, sorry. Maybe do you have those on your Twitter profile? Well,
not yet.
Somewhere.
Not yet.
Just give us a style update.
Just look at my sponsor spots from the last video.
Right.
This is the only time I show my face, my pretty face.
Right. So yeah, something different about me here as well. So as you can tell, first podcast from the new studio space. So I've just taken my old studio equipment, put it in here, plonked it in here, and it's set up in exactly the same way. But of course now there's the entranceway and my big gate behind me. So lighting, audio, all that stuff still being figured out. Hopefully I get the echo edited out, but new space.
It's really cool.
We talked about this last time, I think, when I was still recording from the old studio, but I wasn't actually moved over here yet.
Yeah, no, it's really nice to see what you accomplished in the last 3 or 4 weeks. It was definitely a lot of work, but it's the right move, and yeah.
And
perfect.
even if I don't do it for like channel growth, I'm doing it for myself, just to give myself more space and to get out of the basement studio.
What are you doing with all of the space that you're now having in your basement?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I could turn it into a printer farm or something. It seems to be all the rage. So Joel just got how many? 28? Some 20-something Mark IIIs to turn into a printer farm. But did you know where he's what he's doing with that? If he's like got a printing service set up or something?
Don't have a clue. I was asking myself the same thing, and I was especially asking myself the thing because I wasn't aware that you can still make like a decent income with just a 3D printing service.
I guess if you've got it like figured out where you don't have to spend that much time on each print, I guess then it can work. If you just have one printer, it's just too much hassle.
I think if you're not doing like on-demand printing of models from other people and are doing it kind of in a way that Uncle Jesse's, for example, doing it, like selling resin prints of moving dragons, or I don't know, I've never printed one of these.
We have curated models, basically.
You have curated models because then you set it up once that it works, that it looks nice, and that it's fast, and then it is just really easy for you because you know what you're doing. You can you know what you need to charge to not like pay more than you're getting from the customer. And you could even pre-produce those. Yeah,
most importantly, you're cutting out all that back and forth between you and the customer where it's like, hey, I've got this part I want to print. And you go, well, actually, it's got a 0.5 millimeter wall. That's not going to come out well. And then the guy's like, well, but could we change it? And that takes so much time. That takes probably 3 or 4 times as much time as if you just have your models where you've licensed them from the creator and just print and sell those.
And when you are valuing your time, you very quickly notice that even just like paying, writing one email basically costs you $5. Yeah, at least.
Yeah, I've not responded to email for months. I'm saving so much money.
You're saving so much money. I basically do that every Monday, and it always like takes me half a day, or at least it feels like a whole day of just replying to emails. Yeah,
I still get a lot of. It's been good for a while, but now that they're starting back up, I'm getting emails like, "Hey, can you help me with understanding this concept?" Or I'm a student and I want to do this. And I'm like, I can't help you. I'm sorry. It would be unfair if I say, hey, I don't have the time to help people, and then I still engage with someone and I'm like, hey, yeah, but this and this and this, because it easily takes you half an hour just to respond to one email, because then you research and you do that, and it's like, yeah, it just gets too much.
Yeah.
Well.
That's why I need to, I don't know, get a manager, get a producer, or just a secretary to do stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my mom working for me part-time, that's actually been really good. So she does all the administrative and most of the sponsor coordination and all that. That's actually been really good.
No, that's really nice. And just sieving through the emails, through the avalanche of emails that one usually gets, this can be really helpful in the end. We'll see. Yeah, and one of the reasons I'm also maybe getting a new office space, or my first office space, is having the opportunity to hire somebody, because I can't hire someone if I have my studio in my
I tried, it doesn't work out.
Own house.
That does not.
But for you, that was years ago. 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So no, don't even want to start that. And of course, you could say, okay, you can work from remote, but since for me, the things I have in mind for somebody that I would like to hire, it's not only remote work. It just needs to be somebody here from the region. True.
I thought about that too. Like, of course, that one of the reasons I'm getting the space is the same as you, is to be able to hire someone at least part-time. We have like a 30-hour week or something. Is for them to work, for someone to work with me. And could you do that remote? I mean, you want to be a modern employer, and you want to be able to say, hey, we've got like digital first and remote and all that. But the thing is, we are working with physical things. We are working with 3D prints, with projects, with stuff that you have to hold in your hand. And sure, you don't have to do like a 5-day work week where if you have to come in every day, not necessary. But you still have to have a central spot where you have your stuff, where you have meetings, where you work on a project together, on a physical project. It just, even editing is hard if you don't have the person who's editing it on set with you. And I've had an editor do videos on and off every now and then, but it's so much overhead. Even just transferring stuff back and forth, communicating your creative vision, making sure they know what's important and what's not. It has to be someone who's here at least some parts of the week, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I did a talk last week at a university right around the corner.
Yeah, I saw the announcement
about from engineer to influencer. I called it really like where it just talked about how did I become a content creator on YouTube, and how YouTube gives somebody a platform to do educational videos and make a living from it. Which was really interesting, and more people joined than I thought. I did not really promote it beforehand because I did my presentation like just quickly before that, and I did not want to get embarrassed in front of too many people. So I just tweeted it out once it started. Anyways, I also said that I will probably be getting a new office space, and if somebody's around here who maybe has an interest in engineering, maybe has some creative experience and wants to get just like a normal student job, because as I said, the university is right around the corner, and I know that many who are living here in town also go there every day. Please contact me. Unfortunately, nobody contacted me yet. It might be a real bad thing working for an influencer, YouTuber.
Well, it also kind of depends on where you're at. Of course, you've got the university around, but there's just a low density of people who do the stuff that we need, right? Because, I mean, ideally, you'd be looking for someone like you who can do the engineering side, who can do script writing, and who can do editing. But that is something that is years of practice to do it right, and to do it to a level where it's publishable. So ideally, you want someone who, as the next step down, I don't want to say down, but specialization is good, who just does one of those things. So either engineer, writer, or an editor. I think that makes more sense. But then you can't full-time employ someone who just does editing, because you don't have the production capacity to keep them busy. Well, it's that first bit is the trickiest one. Once you've got 5 employees, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
CNC Kitchen Enterprises.
CNC Kitchen Enterprises. Yeah, we are not at that point yet. But at some point, you need to think about scaling up your business. Otherwise, it kills you in terms, because it needs a lot of dedication from yourself. And it doesn't give you the opportunity to really grow anymore.
You can't, that's what I'm saying with specialization, right? If you have somebody who specializes in editing and who does that really, really well, the amount of time they put into the editing is going to give you a much better end result than if you put in the same amount of time. So not only is it going to be more efficient, cheaper maybe, it's also going to give you a better result.
Yeah.
We
will see. How that's gonna get together. Maybe talking about content creation and writing stuff up. Let's maybe get into the first topic. Or this was already the first topic. Or do you still have something to say on that remark?
No, I'm just watching you edit the show notes, and I'm confused what our first topic is going to be, because we have 2 that kind of fit into that. This episode is sponsored by Linode. Linode is your solution for anything that you want to run in the cloud, aka Linode's data centers around the world. They offer everything from a $5 a month virtual server that can handle a simple website, service, or game server, and scale all the way up to setups with dedicated CPU cores, hundreds of gigabytes of RAM, and dedicated Quadro RTX 6000 GPUs.
Deploy your own software on Linode's virtual Linux servers, or use one of their solutions for managed hosting or one-click marketplace installs of popular tools like WordPress, Moodle, or Discourse. You can even use it for your personal projects when setting up your own VPN or running a game server for Terraria, Minecraft, or CSGO.
Whether you're developing a personal project or managing larger workloads, you deserve a simple, affordable, and accessible cloud computing solution. Cut your cloud bills in half with Linode's transparent and affordable pricing. Develop, deploy, and scale your modern applications faster and easier.
Linode offers 24/7, 365 days a year human support for all of your projects. Get started on Linode today with a $100 in free credit for listeners of The Meltzone. You can find all of the details at linode.com/themeltzone or in the show notes below. I thought about this one at first.
Okay, so All3DP. Stealing content is what I think I've titled it.
All3DP is a big 3D printing
self-proclaimed
website.
Biggest 3D printing news blog.
Voice of 3D printing.
Yeah. And I'm gonna rant. Why don't you start this one?
No worries. So they have been writing very search engine optimized content for the last couple of years, and I have noticed that they have been using screenshots of my videos and images from my blog for quite a while as just parts to illustrate their content, and sometimes even just to have a nice clickable thumbnail.
Yeah, they're basically using videos as sources for stock photos.
Yeah, exactly.
Free sources of stock photos.
Currently still free sources of stock photo. And I have been contacting them 1, 2, 3 years back and said, okay, that's not all right. They deleted that image that they used at that point, but in the end, they still went on just doing exactly the same thing. And when was it? Like 3 weeks ago, Adam from Vector 3D also complained that they have been using one of his really nice images as a thumbnail image for the best 3D printing nozzles of 2022, or something like that.
Yeah.
As I said,
generic
search engine
article headline. Exactly.
And he kind of used his reach on Twitter to rant about that, and All3DP contacted him and talked to him and figured something out. And I also said, yeah, they have been doing that for years on my side as well. There's still plenty of pictures used from my content as well, still on their website. I haven't really ranted about that because for once I didn't want to go to a lawyer. I have better things to do.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I did not want to be the person who's always ranting about things. Anyways, but I still took the opportunity to point out that it has been the same thing on my side as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So what I need to say.
Okay. Just to weigh in here real quick. So they've been using my stuff as well for years. When all 3DP were still like a teeny weeny 3-people team back when they were starting, I think this was like 6-7 years ago or something. I think I met with them 2 or 3 times. They're from Munich, so they're not that far away. And at the end, they were like, "Hey, can we like turn your videos into articles?" And I was like, "Sure, I guess. I mean, yeah, that works." A couple of years later, I was like, "Oh, well, you guys are pretty trashy now. Let's maybe stop that." But they still continue to use all the screenshots and all the screen grabs they had from my videos out of context, like he was saying. Same for me. I contacted them. I ranted about it. Was like, stop that. They continued, and then I got onto Anatol, the CEO. I was like, "Dude, you really need to stop this. I'm gonna bring a lawyer next time." And they pulled all my images. So good on my side there. I didn't sue them. I didn't bring a lawyer. I was just like, "Dude, stop. This is not okay." Okay.
Anyway, so I also had a talk with Anatol, one of the CEOs of the company. I had the talk like 2 weeks ago, and I also told them that my impression was that the content that they have been creating the last years isn't content I really want to have my images at, because they're easy articles with 2/3 affiliate links and advertisement banners.
It's the classic listicles.
Yeah, exactly. And basically he said, okay, yeah, they have been talking about that. So what they are doing a lot is they are using freelance writers. They have a list of topics, and the freelance writer can just pick one of these topics, write an article about that, provide all of the images and things like that. They do the plagiarism checking.
Plagiarism, yeah.
Is that plagiarism?
Whether they're stealing content.
Whether they're stealing content on the text side.
I was going to say, yeah, on the text side. But
on the text side, but not on the other side. I do have to say they have been putting like sources under all of the images. True. The source, CNC Kitchen or Thomas Sanladra or whatever. But for once, Germany doesn't have a fair use policy. Oh. And on the other side, this wasn't really fair use what they were doing.
Yeah.
They were using images totally out of context.
Isn't there now a fair use clause with the Article 13 reform? I thought there was something included there. Yeah, but it would be fine-ish. I guess fair use, and everyone would accept that would be fair use if it's, hey, cool YouTuber does project, or YouTuber does cool project.
Like what Hackaday is doing, for example.
Exactly. And then use a screenshot as the title image. That's fine. But what they were doing was just taking screen caps out of the video where you showed a nozzle and using that for like 10 best nozzles without any reference to the video. So that's not okay.
So I told them how it is, how I see what they are doing, how I feel about them using my images. And they said, okay, they will start changing their policy. And for the articles of the future, if they're using images out of context, they will be contacting the creator of these images or videos or wherever these screenshots are coming from, and will discuss with them whether they are able to license these, just similar to stock photos. And if you're not responding, they won't use the image. If you are responding and agreeing on the license terms, on the fee basically that they're paying, you're gonna get a certain amount of money, and they will license the image, which is fair and is the thing they should have been doing for the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Exactly. Well, let's hope they stick to that and actually do that properly. It's the thing they should be doing anyways. Like you're saying, this is like what they were doing before is a clear copyright breach. But yeah, we will see.
We will see. I was a bit harsh when I talked to him, and also the impression that I have about All3DP and how to what it has evolved over the last years. Maybe I am biased in a way just because they were treating me in the past, but I think it was still good feedback to one of the CEOs, and All3DP, as he told me, it has been becoming quite a big company. So it's not just like two guys writing a couple of articles. It's a company.
And they've got other stuff too. They've got a 3D printing comparison, 3D printing service comparison thing too. Yeah. That's one of the big developments now. I mean, Anatol is a very approachable guy, so very, very likable person.
Definitely, and he has been in the business for many, many years. I grew up with the Bravo Screen Fun magazine when I was young, where he wrote articles about video games. Yeah,
but I'm just not sure about the monster he built or he helped build. Whether that's that.
So the thing is, I'm always somebody who usually feels bad if I'm asking for a licensing fee or something like that, but this has been becoming a really big company. They make a ton of revenue with the articles where they're using images from other creators. And if they want to do that in the future, they need to license these images if they're used out of context. I'm totally fine if Hackaday or whichever other site is using screenshots from my videos if they're writing about the video, because that's totally fair use. But if it's out of context, they're just making affiliate money with the work that I did, and that's not right. This is, in my opinion, really stealing from me. I thought, or I asked myself if I'm a bit ambivalent. Since I'm sometimes also like using screen caps from other websites or video snippets from other channels to illustrate things in my videos.
Yeah, but not ambivalent, but like, people know. I'm liking the word too. Yeah.
But I always have the impression that if I'm using other content, I do this within the context to illustrate things. You link them in the video description
to that.
I reference them. So I think this is fine. If somebody has a different idea or a different impression how to handle that, please let me know. But yeah, as I said, I'm not really happy what All3DP did in the past, but I'm totally fine if websites like Hackaday are using screenshots if it's in context, if it's fair use, and if they're talking about an article.
Yeah. That's All3DP. Let's see what they do in the future.
Yes, looking forward to.
Let's move on. So next one, BCN 3D VLM. This is a less meta topic. Let's get back onto the hard 3D printing topics here. BCN 3D, known for IDEX printers, so dual independent X-axis printers. Independent. I got the order of words wrong there, but they've been doing filament printers, dual extrusion, good machines, and they're now getting into resin. But they're not just doing an LCD resin print. In fact, is it what process is that even? They're not just doing the LCD where you have your resin vat and you pull the part out of that. They're doing that reversed. So what they've got is VLM. What does VLM even stand for? Viscous lithography manufacturing. Okay. Viscous, as in high viscosity. So they are, first of all, they're using a very high viscosity resin as their base material. And they're also flipping the process upside down. So they're not directly dunking the part or the platform into the resin. They're actually transferring the resin onto a transfer film first, similar to, I don't know, a printing, not a printing press, but laser toner-based printers are kind of doing that, where they're transferring the toner onto a film first, and then they're using that to transfer it onto your paper or print in this case. So they've got a resin-coated film. They're pulling over, they're stretching, and then they're pressing it onto your part. And then it's exposing through that film just the areas that you want printed. So basically, you've got this upside-down resin-coated film, and yeah, that basically allows them to use very thick resins, which have some technical advantages, right? A thicker resin, as far as I know from talking to resin manufacturers, allows them to use longer polymer chains, or to use resins that have more polymer content to them, meaning you get a stronger part. You don't rely on the resin polymerizing through the light, but you've got more of the finished high performance material in there already. And high viscosity stuff you can't typically use in a vat-based printer because it's just too thick. It would suck up your FEP film every time. So that, and also what they're experimenting with, though I don't think they've got any examples of that, is multi-material printing. So because you're not dunking your part fully into the resin and you're not basically coating your part in resin every time, you can use a different resin bath and a different film and use that to apply a different material to your part. So dual material resin printed. Pretty cool stuff.
Really interesting. So they, was it a press conference? So there isn't any real material out there where you see a machine in action or real parts.
Yeah.
It's more than a concept. They are developing the technology as it looks, and they just wanted to get out what they are really working on and how different that technology is from normal SLA 3D printing to also other 3D printing technologies like jetting or whatever you have there. And it is a really cool approach. It will definitely not be something for the home gamer.
No.
What they're saying here, solutions under 50,000 euros. So it's going to probably a machine. 50,000.
Yeah, 49,900 probably.
Without tax.
Yeah, plus the support contract.
Yeah. But what I think what they want to do with such a machine, which can do fast printing and strong printing, is they want to have basically a replacement for low volume injection molding.
Which is the dream that every 3D printer manufacturer is going after, right? But this could be one where it actually works out.
Yeah.
Because you just get immensely, so that they're saying, first of all, the resin of itself is 50 times more viscous, which is quite a lot. And that gives them 3 times the impact resistance and plus 200%, which is also 3 times the tear strength of industry standard resins. So of course there's quite a range as far as resin performance goes, especially when it comes to impact resistance. But yeah,
they're not limited by screen sizes of LCDs. Well, that is the question. I don't know if they're using a projector. Well, in the end, you still have pixels that you need, or where you need some kind of a screen. But I think what they're doing is on a larger scale than normal.
So from looking at the animation, it looks like it is actually an LCD.
Okay.
So just looking at where it says multi-material 3D printing and you see the dual materials thing, it looks like it is a standard LCD, which is fine. I mean, you can get pretty large LCDs now, mono LCDs even. They expose really fast. That's a fine process.
Yeah.
Of course, it's patented. It's a quote patented breakthrough lithography-based 3D printing process. So Yeah, so 50,000. That's what it's going to cost, and nobody else is going to make a better version of it.
Well, the thing is, this is not a process that looks so simple as normal SLA 3D printing, so that you can like easily copy it for a home gamer machine. But on the other hand, you have all of the rollers, you have the resin vats, you need special resins, you need to coat it. Well, of course,
we've got more complicated printers than this. We've got belt printers figured out for the most part. This isn't that different.
Yeah, of course, you could be right there.
Yeah, but we'll never know, unfortunately.
In 20 years, we'll know.
Yeah, looking forward to 2042.
Yeah. Well, on the other hand, maybe there is a way to make it even better. I still think that the idea is really interesting to coat this transparent sheet of material with that thick resin, then just move it over your parts, and then just expose the areas that needs to be exposed, and then you get everything back into the vat and scrape off the material that you don't need anymore.
Yeah.
And since you can have these two vats on both sides, it does open the opportunity to have support structure with another material, also do really like multi-material printing for different properties in your parts. Maybe this high viscosity resin is even handling like filled resins better than the really thin ones that we use on our SLA 3D printers.
Possibly. But I'm just wondering how the dual material stuff is actually going to work, because you're still touching the entire resin surface to the part. So you're going to have a film of basically your other material on it, and then you push the second material into it.
I was wondering that as well, to be honest. But I don't know, maybe there is a cleaning process that can happen in between.
Some wiper going over the part.
Some wiper, or you could say if you just want to do like two different colors, maybe just wiping it off. Colors would bleed into each other. Maybe it's just marketing material and they haven't really figured that out.
Yeah, because I mean, what they're showing is so they are showing an actual single material printing process that seems to be working, but they're not showing any actual dual material printing happening other than an animation. And yeah, we need to be very clear. This is mostly just 3D renderings. There's very little video material and image material of the actual real machine, the prototype that they built. It's all 3D renders. So, is
there even a picture of a real machine?
Well, you can see the close-ups of the print happening, but you can't. There's no, as far as I see, there's no images of the finished machine. I guess it's just it's looking very much like a prototype.
If somebody's interested on that technology and in that topic, there has been like a 1 hour video released by BCN 3D where they unveiled their viscous lithography manufacturing process, where they go a bit more into the details. Okay. And there's even more marketing shenanigan going on.
Yeah, BCN 3D I find are an interesting company, because they're trying to be Ultimaker. They're trying so hard, but they don't quite make it there. They've got their own unique stuff that makes them worth looking into, but I feel like that they're really trying to push to be the next Ultimaker. That's the vibe that I'm getting off of the which one did I test? The R. I don't know what their regular Sigma is called that I tested.
Yeah.
BR something 23. I don't know, man. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd love to see this machine up close at some point, and the results once it's there, once it's working.
Maybe at Formnext this year or something like that. At least they might have a mock-up or something like that.
Yeah, or some prints. I don't know.
It's just interesting to see that also a company that was just purely doing filament before is now like venturing in resin 3D printing, but not really conventional resin 3D printing.
BCN 3D were never about the conventional stuff. Well, I guess they had. Did they have a simple print at some point, or was it all Sigmas? I think they started with Sigma. That was BQ that had the Hephaestus and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I might be mixing them up. Both Spanish companies.
Yeah.
But yeah, BCN3D was incubated in a university environment, and they ended up spinning off of that university and are now a completely separate entity. So I guess this is now where they're really turning up the knob to 11.
Cool. Maybe a quick talk if we had been on the topic of foam next. Do you already have plans for Murph? Not decided yet? Or decided that you won't be going?
I don't think I'm going to go.
Okay.
Nah.
Very unfortunate. I would have been looking forward to. Because I think I will be going. I don't know. I really want to meet people again. I really missed not being at Murph the last 2 years. I really miss being in the US, to be totally honest. I don't know why, but I always have romantic feelings for the US.
Yeah, it's just it's so different yet so similar. It's weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw your tweets about it and I was like,
think about it. I'll probably be booking flights in the next 1 or 2 weeks. I will probably be going earlier, just a day earlier to Chicago to have a more in-depth look at the city in comparison to last time where we had an hour, and we actually did not have that hour because that was the hour that we were missing at the airport.
Never boarded a flight that late.
Me neither, at least not an international one. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to. I would be really hoping to see a list of sponsors to see who will be really coming, because this is also something that attracts more or less people. But I have heard from many from the community that they will be coming. I think Joel said that he's going to be there. A bunch of other guys.
It kind of makes sense when you're not having to do like 10 hours of international traveling. And that's a bit more laid back. I don't know. Don't count on me.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to ask. But if you change your mind, let me know.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
All right.
Let's stay on this side of the big pond. News from Prusa. Or I guess this is a quick one. Prusa now have recycled filaments. Hold on, cookie banner. I need to reject you real quick. Prusa are now doing recycled PETG, or PETG. I guess eventually they want to move on to PLA as well, but they've got rPETG. So it's a bit different than to what you've seen in the space when it comes to PETG or rPETG recycled stuff. Because what they first of all have done is a life cycle assessment, where they're saying, okay, if we make a spool of filament from virgin, unused, fresh out of the factory PETG, then that generates how much? 5.85 kilograms of CO2. Is that for 1 kilogram? I think it is, yeah. 5.85 kilograms of CO2 equivalent, I guess, for virgin stuff, and 2.55 kilograms for recycled PETG. So they've got a reduction of 57% in emissions. It's actually quite a bit more CO2 than I expected a spool of PETG to have. 5.76 kilograms? Hold on, wasn't this just 5.85? Something like almost 6 kilograms of CO2 for one spool of filament. It's quite a bit, actually. And they're also doing recycled PLA. Right. And interestingly, very similar footprints of CO2 emissions for PLA as with PETG. So basically the same 5.75 kilogram and 2.5 for the recycled stuff. So they're doing that. What this kind of ties into the next sort of topic that we're doing. What they're doing is they are using production waste, essentially. So I guess spools that aren't good, or material that they've primed out of their extruder that doesn't get shaped into filament, into spools, or other stuff. production process is not 100% efficient. And they're turning that into rPETG.
Yeah. The really interesting thing right here, they kind of show that pretty nicely, is the challenges they already have in their company, because like Prusa or Prusament, they always said, okay, they have really tight tolerances on the diameter and color and things like that. Using this, recycled material, they are not able anymore to reach the plus minus, I think, 0.02 millimeters of diameter variance. They had to increase the tolerance quite a bit, probably because like the shredded up material is not flowing as nicely through the extruder as the pellets.
Probably not as consistently. You don't have that consistent of a pellet diameter anymore.
So the recycled material that they're selling does not have the quality of the new material. But if you're not doing like really precise production prints or I don't know, rather doing a bit more crude stuff, this might be something that would be interesting. Is the price lower than a standard spool? I guess it is, a bit at least. But colors are all going to be different. So if you're buying a spool of recycled material, the one roll doesn't look as another one, and even within one spool there might be variations within the color, which might be totally okay for functional parts. But this is just one of the challenges when you need to work, or when you want to work with recycled materials.
Yeah. So in details here, so guaranteed manufacturing precision is 50 micron, plus minus 0.05 millimeter. And the price is a bit lower than the standard stuff. So they're selling the 2 kilogram spools for 47 euros, including VAT.
In comparison to 60 euros for 2 kilos of like virgin, or not virgin, but really new Prusament.
Yeah. So that's that. And the CO2 equivalent, as a saying, counts basically everything. So acidification, eutrophication, phosphate. What is that? Phosphate oxide, I don't know. And nitrous oxide, methane, all that stuff that's getting emitted and has a warming effect, essentially. So that's Prusament. More than cutting down the CO2 equivalent on the PLA if you get the recycled stuff. The other recycling topic we have today, and this kind of ties together because their kind of press briefing very much ties into, hey, we're better than Prusament because we're actually recycling post-consumer materials, is the German company or startup RecyclingFabrik. So they are a team of 3 guys who are actually collecting your old prints. So the way that their stuff works is they send you a shipping label, you put your stuff in a box, you send it to them, and you get points depending on how good your material is that you sent in. They recycle it into new filament, and you can buy fresh spools from them. So basically their point system is you can get up to 2 euros per kilogram of sent in. I think they're just doing PLA now. You get up to 2 euros of store credit, depending on how good your material mix is. So if you've got a lot of other materials in there, then they downrank you down to 60, 80, 40 cents. 40 cents per kilogram.
Okay.
If you've got like a real rough mix of everything. But yeah, you get,
which is not a ton, to be totally honest, because like a kilogram of new material on a spool is 20 bucks. So if you're sending in 1 kilogram of your leftovers, you can save like 10% on a new roll of material.
Yeah, I guess it's actually less than what they would be paying for virgin PLA. As far as the store credit goes, but of course you have to add the shipping cost on top of that.
Yeah, of course.
So shipping. Why would you want to ship a 2 kilogram box of filament around? So that the minimum, what's it called? The minimum trade-in amount that you can do per package is 2 kilograms. If you're sending from Germany, or 7 kilograms if you're sending from the EU, because they are paying for your shipping. They're sending you a shipping label that you don't have to pay for. Isn't that ecologically worse than just buying fresh stuff? So what they're doing is they're using the German Post's Go Green option, which is CO2 compensation. So somewhere in Brazil, a forest doesn't get cut down because you're compensating. So it's not really. There's still emissions from the shipping process, right? Those don't get taken out. It's just getting compensated. And also they have a limit of how much filament that they want it to take. So they at most currently are taking 100 trade-ins or 100 shipments per month, and those are already all used up. It is April 8th today. So I guess you have to be really lucky to actually send stuff in.
But the reason for that is just since they need to go manually through the materials, they can't handle a huge amount of leftover 3D prints. And I had a guy also send in, I think it was 30 kilos of leftover PLA at some point. It was a huge box. I was so sorry for the post guy. But the volume of leftover 3D printing material is so huge. And just think about it. A 3D Benchy is, I think, around 10 grams of material.
12 grams is what one of the articles is saying, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So you need to have a ton of failed prints to even fill 1 kilogram of material. And if they are really manually sieving through all of the parts, you have really tiny support structure and things like that. This is a lot of work they need to put into there. And this is also one of the reasons why I think it's really challenging to make such a process worthwhile and to make a business out of that. I think at the moment it might not be really, they're not really making any money out of that. But the larger you're scaling that, the higher the chance is that you can do automatization of sorting materials, colors, maybe even things you don't want to have in your filament. I had a ton of failed 3D prints from my own recycled material where I had metal chips in the filament itself. How can you make sure that you get rid of these? It is challenging. And if you're then selling this recycled material to customers, you don't want to upset them with clogged nozzles or really bad prints or inconsistent diameters and things like that.
Yeah, it's the same challenges that we keep talking about with recycling what is called post-consumer materials. You just don't have a guarantee for consistency. Yeah. So I don't know if they're literally just throwing out trade-ins that just have like little tiny parts and just using the bigger failures. Like if even Miranda was sending in some of his print failures, they would have a field day on that.
All red, all really just the same material, same grade of PLA.
Yeah, so that's like the ideal stuff to send in, big parts. But like if you send in like literally for $2 a store credit, they'd have to look at 100 3D benches and determine, hey, is this PLA, PETG, ABS? Is it some other stuff that looks like PLA? How does it smell? How does it feel? I don't know how they even determine that. Of course, you can have some contamination in the material and it's still going to print okay, but there's a level where it's just not going to be good anymore. It's definitely a challenge, and I appreciate that they're trying this. Yeah, it's just a thing of scale, right? Yeah. Does it make sense for the hobbyists to send in their old prints for $2 a store credit?
But I think this system has way more of a future than an approach where either single people or just you yourself have a recycling station at home, because for once the equipment is expensive, then you usually don't have a ton of material in the end, and extruding a roll of material also takes quite a lot of time. So this will always be way more expensive than just buying new, good working material. But if you are scaling that up, and you can, have automatization for different things, at some point, this might be feasible. Definitely. And at a larger scale, it's also working for the post-consumer plastics that we throw in our yellow bags here in Germany.
Yeah, yellow bags, yellow bins, the dual system of recycling, which most of it gets burnt anyways. So, I just had a bit more of a read. They're doing 100% recycled material. So typically, when you have recycled materials, you add a bit of virgin material just to keep it fresh, just to keep the properties good. But they're doing 100% for stuff. Are they doing PETG as well? Let me see. Nope. So currently they're just doing PLA, but I guess they're sorting out to PETG as well to at some point recycle that. PETG, of course, is the classic because it doesn't degrade that much when it gets heated. So PETG can almost infinitely reheat and remelt. PLA kind of does degrade. And
a bit, and you will notice that that the melt viscosity is going to be lower, so you have more stringing, worse overhangs. That's also what Prusa is, for example, stating on their website. Don't expect prints as well as with new version material, because the material will degrade over time, and these are one of the things that you will definitely see.
Yeah. But what I do like that they're doing here is that they're kind of sorting this by color. They're not just mixing this into one big bin and saying, hey, we're adding a black master batch and it's just going to be black. They're actually sorting this into colors. They're adding some master batch to color it into a more consistent color, though you're still going to get some color gradients. They've got black, of course, but they've also got more like an anthracite, dark gray. They've got a what is this? Clay color? Sleeping flamingo, they're calling it. They're also showing a couple other colors, but... Oh yeah, there we go. I was on the wrong page. They've also got like a teal blue and some lighter bluish, some green, some... Oh, what is the...
I'm wondering if they're changing the colors that are available like every month. Well, of course they need to do that, because the material they're getting is usually very different. If Ivan Miranda is sending in all of his stuff, it's all gonna be red for the next month, which is an interesting approach, because how often are you really picking a specific color for a certain project? How often is that really important to you? Yeah, sometimes it is, but sometimes it just doesn't really matter. And if you're just putting a bit of glitter in any color, it's always going to look nice.
Going to be glitter filament, So the only two colors you can currently buy is the dark gray and the clay colored. All the other ones are sold out. So I guess I don't think they would change the colors, because then you would have to sort them differently. But just the colors that they can manage to get, that's the ones that you can buy.
Yeah, they're probably going to be sold out due to the article on Heise that released a week ago or something like that.
Well, somebody approached me as well. I don't know if it was them or just somebody else who saw it, but they did get a bit of PR out of this.
Yeah, no, it's really nice, and I really appreciate that they are tackling that topic. Yeah. There's also the other German company, QiTech.
Yeah, that gets mentioned.
They were also mentioned in the article. This is a student startup. I talked to them a while ago, and what they're doing is they're recycling industrial waste into filament. A lot of polypropylene, polyethylene, so not the totally conventional materials, but they are doing that as well on a pretty large scale right now. They have actually been renting an old supermarket. An old Rewe, somewhere in, I think next to Frankfurt, or in that area.
What it's saying, Yeah, that's a good amount of space for a filament manufacturer.
Yeah.
Works out, unless it's a Kaufland or something. You could really scale up.
No, so I think, well, they're for once doing the recycling itself, but they are also building recycling machines for other company.
Yeah.
I think this is what they want to do. It's a bit like what Precious Plastic is doing.
Yeah.
With the bazaar.
Isn't Protopasta also still? I mean, at least that they were doing it. Were doing that at some point, where they, of course, make their own filament, but they're also selling their extruders that they developed. I don't know if they're still doing that, but
I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of that fact.
Anyway, yeah, filament recycling. It's challenging. I love that they tackle that. I hope they can manage to scale it. Because if 100 shipments, 100 drop-offs a month is all they can handle, then that's going to be rough for 3 people. That's not going to be enough material that they can produce to sustain that.
I actually, maybe one last thing, I actually talked to somebody who is working at a industrial recycling plant for plastics, for the yellow bucket or yellow for our dual plastic recycling system here in Germany. And he said that he has been working on that idea as well, and they have a lot of sorting machines and things like that. And he said that it would be totally feasible to have the ability to really just send in all material that you have, even not sorted. Of course, sorted would be better, but to have this automated system of shredding the material, then scanning each small pellet for the material and for the color, and then just collecting that in different bins and then extruding new material out of that.
Yeah, high-tech approach. I doubt
but
the RecyclingFabrik thing is that.
No, it's definitely not.
Really,
but at a scale, it would be possible. These machines, they cost probably millions of euros.
It's basically a spectrography process that they're doing, right? Just seeing what light frequencies get absorbed by the material, and with that you can kind of determine what it is. Yeah, cool stuff. Hope it works out.
Yep.
So next one, Prusa XL. I guess this is just a short note that I found and I tweeted about. So Prusa, let me find the tab here. Prusa, I don't know if this is something that they freshly published at the time, so mid-March, where they've got a Q&A on the XL with a question: is the XL compatible with third-party nozzles, and does it support hardened nozzles? And that question by itself, it's like very specifically, I think, going off of REVO not supporting third-party nozzles and not having hardened nozzles at all. And the answer is, yeah, currently XL uses special nozzles in the extruder because it is a spin-off of REVO, or how do I call this? It's sharing some technology from the REVO. It uses special nozzles, and they're aiming to provide standard and hardened nozzles at launch. That's good. And they expect that third-party nozzles will appear on the market shortly after the launch due to the open source design. So again, very specifically kind of pointing fingers at REVO, going like, yeah, but ours is open source, yours isn't. We've got hardened nozzles, yours doesn't. It's the XL uses an E3D hotend, right? It's a hotend made by E3D based on REVO with a couple different design cues. And yeah, Prusa didn't like some things about the REVO, so they decided to customize the design. And I guess this is part of that.
Yeah. So it's gonna be nice for everyone who is thinking about buying or using one of these machines in the future, that you will probably have the opportunity, just as with most other regular printers right now, to buy specific nozzles or specialty nozzles from third-party vendors, which is nice because often it's cheaper and you have the variety of different properties, be it high flow, be it abrasion resistant, be it just really nice with a gem at the tip.
just looking pretty. Yeah, so that's an update on the XL. Do you have a shipping date on your XL yet?
Not that I knew.
Okay.
Not that I would know. I think I did not get an email. Didn't they say like third or fourth quarter of this year?
So no updates there.
No, definitely not.
Okay. Right, but what definitely has an update is Anker. I think we touched on that. We touched on the announcement for that
last time,
in the last episode. Yeah. And their Kickstarter is now live. So Anker, for those of you who don't know, huge company. I like their stuff. I'm a Anker fan. All my USB cables and stuff are Anker, where I can get them. Battery banks, they make good stuff. They're now on 3.5 million euros, converted from 3.7 million US dollars out of a $50,000 goal. So that, of course, that goal is pathetic. With
reached within 1 minute.
Yeah. With 6,000 backers.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So yeah, they launched their Kickstarter, and it's another Ender 3 with a direct extruder.
Don't be that harsh on it. Come on.
It's the interesting. Of course, it's nicely made. It looks well. You have currently taken a look at the Snap Maker.
Yeah.
It looks a bit like a Snap Maker, really clean and something like that. The thing which I found really interesting is that they barely show how the motion system works, and in some pictures you get a glimpse of it, and it's also just like V-slots, extrusions and rollers. Of course, it's totally fine because it works, but they are really trying to market their printer for the printing speed with 250 millimeters, 5 times faster than other conventional printers on the market.
Yeah, but kind of forgetting about inertia, but that's the typical thing that happens.
Well, if you design such a printer properly, the motors and a stiff motion system, of course, that's possible.
2,500 millimeters per second square. So that's not crazy accelerations. That is...
No, my Ender 3 can do that.
Exactly. It's not going to do it nicely, but... Yeah, it's going to do it. For reference, I mean, it is a lot faster than, for example, the Mark III. Mark III does 1,000 millimeters per second squared.
In the standard profile.
In the standard profile, of course.
Yeah. So they had to make the printer a bit different than other printers which look kind of similar, or which do have a similar print space, or are popular at the moment. The print space is exactly the same as an Ender 3, 235 by 235 by 250.
It's a standard printer, yeah.
So one thing they're heavily marketing is the print speed, which of course can be working if you have nicely tuned profiles and a motion system that works. The direct extruder definitely helps. With that, the thing I found interesting is that they are not obviously using an all metal hot end, because the max printing temperature is 260 degrees Celsius.
Yeah,
which is a bit unfortunate, because that limits you in the materials that you can use, and especially because the printer is $760 MSRP.
Yeah, so the problem I typically have with Teflon land hotends is not that it limits you, because most people realistically, you can print ABS, you can print PLA, you can print PETG, that's fine. But lined hotends typically degrade over time, so Teflon deforms, and it's just going to give you issues at some point. And I don't think I've seen one that would just continue working. So that's more of a long-term thing, where that's going to wear out. One cool feature that they have is apparently they're running their own, what am I call it? Top-level UI UX. They are saying they've got a dedicated CPU for Marlin. So as far as I've read, it's a 3-core CPU, like 2 cores running probably Android, and then 1 real-time core that runs Marlin.
Okay. Do they say that it runs Marlin?
It said Marlin CPU somewhere. So
Okay.
I guess that they're saying, so they've got an X-Burst CPU in intelligent 3D printing, along with the regular processor Marlin CPU. So I don't know that I think there are some chips. For example, the BeagleBoard uses some of the TI processors that have just the cores for running Linux, and then a real-time core that runs separate firmware that does motion. In this case, either it's something like that, or so they're saying it's a 3-core heterogeneous CPU, 240 megahertz for Marlin, or for the motion then. So that cool. We'll have to see how moddable that is. But also they've got a camera in there. They've got a 1080p camera in there that has an AI camera recognition system. So similar to what we talked about time before last with the, who was it?
Yeah, not the spaghetti detective.
Yeah, those were the first guys doing that.
Yeah.
Somebody else, you guys can probably fix it or correct this in the comments. But they're doing AI print issue detection, saying spaghetti mess, staggered layers, non-sticky first layer, nozzle blockages. So basically your print doesn't look as good as it should. And it's got an AI loop running that detects spaghettis and artifacts that don't look like like a print should look. Yeah. So that's pretty cool that it's built in.
Definitely, and I think this is also one of the outstanding things about the machine, because this so far hasn't been implemented on a printer at that price point and working properly. Of course, you can run your own setup with Octoprint and Spaghetti Detective, but this is also always something that the user needs to do. If you have something integrated, if you have a well-working app, you might get notifications if something's not working properly.
That's what they're promising, yeah.
Yeah. So that is fine, because that really helps you run that machine and be sure that you don't get back to the machine after 10 hours and notice that the first layer didn't stick properly.
Yeah. And it also seems to tick all the boxes. So it's got a PI plate, it's got auto bed leveling, it's got a filament sensor. Resume printing, they're saying supported, so I don't know if that is power failure detection or not. I would hope it is. But at that level of being a premium printer, I hope. I mean, I just love seeing that they're at least doing those checks, those little sensors, those improvements that really don't add that much to your BOM. Yeah. And it
auto bed leveling.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Okay, sorry.
They do have their own slicer, probably skinned Cura, I don't know. But you can use it with any slicer you want.
In one of the images on the Kickstarter page, it definitely just looks like Cura, which is not bad.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah. If the communication, the Wi-Fi communication with the printer itself works properly, if you have, how did Uncle Jesse put it, an app that seems to not suck, which just helps you take a look at the print, start, stop, and maybe get a notification when something is not working. That's totally fine. You don't need.
It's a lot better than nothing.
On phone slicing and a connected, I don't know, model library. Nobody uses that, to be honest. So it's nice to see. I find a price point of 760 euros. I don't know what I should think about that, because on the one hand,
fair, I think it fits in.
It fits, but it will be challenging against, of course, always comparing it to an Ender 3. Of course, it can do more, definitely more, but...
Yeah, but you're comparing it against an Ender 3, but you also have to compare it against the Prusa.
Exactly, and this was an interesting comparison for me as well. Is it better than a Prusa?
We don't know.
What makes a Prusa better than this machine right here, the Anker M5 or however it's called?
With the Prusa, it's just the ecosystem, the experience at this point.
Yeah.
That you've got absolutely perfect print profiles. You get Prusa slicer, and it just clicks together, and you don't have to like tweak or mess with stuff. So if they can pull that off with since they have their own Anker Make slicer, I would hope that they have profiles built into that really work well. If they can do, I mean, here's the thing: Anker are sort of like an upper mid-tier brand, like good stuff, decent stuff, not super perfect. I mean, I've had Anker products, I've had some of their earlier Bluetooth speakers, and they worked well, but they sounded like garbage. Anker usually makes a solid product from my experience, and I would hope that they deliver on that with their 3D printer as well.
Well, at least they have the funding and a company in the background where there is a chance that they do it properly in the end. And maybe they also deliver an ecosystem that works, a slicer that's regularly updated, a well-working connection to the printer. I don't know, regular updates to the AI recognition system, an app that does not suck. And this will be, well, great for everyone in the end, because it adds a feature that other machines don't have at the moment and might make them popular for other machines as well. And it shows what can work and maybe what can't in the end. Yeah.
Of course, we've ranted about whether Kickstarter is the correct platform for big companies like this, but I kind of don't want to get into that now. I think we've talked about that plenty of times. But it seems to work. I mean, 3.5 million. Let me just refresh the page. How far up it's currently? Yeah, still almost $4 million US now. The success seems to prove them right. So
yeah.
I don't know if launching it a different way would have been better for them. I don't think so.
I don't think so either, because this is creating a lot of hype around the machine.
Yeah, we're talking about it right now. So, like, what more could they wish for?
Yeah. So yeah, I hope they deliver. There is a brand in the background. That's, I think, also one of the reasons why people trusting them and putting their hard-earned dollars into such a Kickstarter project.
Hey, and you've got Uncle Jesse vouching for them, so that's good.
Yeah. Let's see how good it really is in the end.
Yeah.
And what we can learn from them.
Yeah. If new players stirs up the market, that's good in either case. So, one question for this episode that we found from Martin. Asking about your volcano adapter, Stefan. What if the volcano adapters were made out of copper? So currently they're made out of brass, right?
Yeah.
Standard machine wool brass. And I guess the thought behind this is copper just conducts heat better.
I think he is asking, well, of course, conductivity, but also due to the problems that we had with the material properties degenerating at higher temperatures. True. I think with copper would definitely help with conductivity because it has a higher thermal conductivity, but the brass is not the limiting factor. It's the speed, the heat that goes into it's the speed at which the heat goes into the material.
Yeah,
so I think it would not really
through the plastic.
Exactly. I think it wouldn't really help with melt rates. I think it would help with the problem that we had with strength. But in the end, copper is definitely more expensive and harder to machine than brass.
Yeah, also copper is also an extremely soft material. Of course, there's different copper alloys that change that and make it harder or more bendable or however you want. But copper, I guess if you even try to tighten that down with like a hex insert, that's probably going to strip after 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, maybe.
So that could be that you could be introducing more issues than you're solving with that.
Maybe, and then I think you also have the oxidation problem that copper oxidizes very quickly, which is also one of the reasons why all of the copper nozzles and copper heater blocks are nickel plated.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just the looks or if that will slowly degenerate, for example, in the melt path. I don't know.
I don't think it would be... Well, basically, you're saying the material might erode the copper out or corrode the copper out, basically.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if reasons, if the reason why nozzles and heater blocks, copper heater blocks, are nickel plated due to that they would not look nice after like the second print anymore, turning from the red color to just the black, or if they are reasons to limit the oxidation.
I think for something like a heater block, it's literally just the looks. I think it's mostly looks too. It's just, the thing is, if you have like fingerprints and filament bits on there, it's not even going to give you like an even black oxidization coating. It's just going to be super spotty and nasty, essentially. Of course, with like a nickel coated material, if you have that as an insert, you're adding thickness, sure, but that might also flake off. If you apply forces to it with a wrench or something, that could also start flaking off and giving you issues there.
But the electroless nickel, on the one hand, is a really very thin layer. It's just like a couple of micrometers, and it usually bonds quite well to the base material if you clean it properly before. So I would need to think, but I think I have never really chipped a lot of nickel from my copper nozzles or copper heater blocks.
Okay.
So I think that works very well, and it's a well-established process in industry to for corrosion protection, for reducing wear, and for reducing the friction on the surfaces. Yeah.
So you get nickel doesn't oxidize that much, so it stays smooth and shiny. Though that might actually be something interesting. So I think E3D actually produce their heat breaks and nozzles to a specific roughness. They don't want a mirror finish in there, because otherwise you're just going to get suction onto that surface, kind of like a suction cup just sticking to that mirror finish. So they have a defined roughness to that. So maybe a really shiny nickel coating there could actually be detrimental to friction and to force required to push filament.
Maybe, but I think it would not really be noticeable in comparison to the rest of the drag that you have in there.
Everything else that's going on,
All right.
We made it.
We made it. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your time, listeners and viewers. If you have questions, put them down in the YouTube comments, tweet at us at the Meltzone. If you want to support us, head over to our Patreon accounts, which are linked down in the description. And we hope to see you in the next one. Hear you in the next one.
Thank you for your time, Stefan. And we'll see you then. Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.